Clara, you have been found guilty by a jury. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, look at the woman sitting at the defense table. Take a good, long look. To the world, she was a grieving widow. To her 3 children, she was the mother who tucked them in while their father lay cold in the earth. To the readers of her children's book, she was a beacon of hope, a guide on how to navigate the impossible waves of grief. She wore the mask of a survivor. She spoke the language of heartbreak. She even dedicated her work to the amazing husband she lost. But today, that mask has been stripped away. Today, we don't look at the author. We don't look at the grieving spouse. Today, we look at the killer. The evidence has shown you a timeline not of a tragedy, but of a calculated execution. It wasn't a sudden heart attack. It wasn't a mysterious illness. It was 5 times the lethal dose of illicit fentanyl stirred into a celebratory Moscow Mule. While her husband, Eric, thought they were toasting to a new business deal, his wife was actually toasting to her freedom. She didn't call for help when he stopped breathing. She didn't scream for the neighbors. She waited for the poison to finish what she had started weeks prior with a failed attempt over Valentine's Day. She waited until his body was cold, and then she began the performance of a lifetime. But the digital footprint doesn't lie. The secret meetings with dealers don't lie. The financial motives, the millions in life insurance, the crumbling real estate empire, they don't lie. The court is now in session for the sentencing of Clara Sterling. Clara, you have been found guilty by a jury of your peers of first-degree murder and multiple counts of possession with intent to distribute. You stood before this community and claimed to be a victim of fate. You used your husband's death to build a brand. You turned his murder into a marketing opportunity. You sat on national television and squeezed out tears for a man you systematically eliminated. The prosecution has asked for the maximum. Your defense has asked for leniency, citing your role as a mother. But where was that maternal instinct when you chose to orphan your sons? Where was the mercy when Eric begged you for a glass of water while the drugs began to shut down his lungs? There's a coldness in this case that I have rarely seen in 20 years on the bench. Most crimes of passion happen in a heartbeat. They are fueled by a flash of anger. But this was a slow burn. You shopped for the weapon. You researched the dosage, you practiced, you failed once, and instead of being horrified by what you'd almost done, you simply refined your method. You were patient. You were precise. The impact statements we heard today from Eric's family paint a picture of a man who was the pillar of his home. A man who stayed for the sake of his children even when he suspected his wife was trying to kill him. Yes, he knew, he told his sisters. He told his best friend, if anything happens to me, look at Clara. He lived his final days in a house where the person he should have trusted most was his greatest predator. Clara, you thought you were the smartest person in the room. You thought that by writing a book about angels in the sky, you could rewrite the reality of the floorboards beneath your feet. You didn't just take a life, you tried to colonize the memory of that life for your own profit. The law provides for a range of punishments, but the law also recognizes when a soul is beyond the reach of rehabilitation in a civilized society. To grant you the possibility of parole would be to ignore the calculated nature of your cruelty. It would be to suggest that after 15 or 20 years, the person who could look their spouse in the eye and hand them a lethal drink could somehow be fixed. I do not believe you are broken, Clara. I believe you are exactly who you intended to be. You are a woman who valued a real estate closing and a life insurance payout more than the father of your children. Therefore, it is the judgment of this court that you be remanded to the custody of the Department of Corrections. On the count of first-degree aggravated murder, I sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole. You will never again see the sun without bars in front of it. You will never again profit from the name of the man you slaughtered. You will have the rest of your natural life to sit in the silence you created that night in your bedroom. The bailiff will remove the defendant. Reporter 1 here, we just heard the sentence, life without parole. It's the ending the family was praying for, but can you ever really call this justice? You look at the sister, Sarah, standing there, she's shaking. She spent 2 years fighting for this. She was the one who went to the police when the toxicology report came back. She was the one who found the deleted texts on the old iPad. You have to wonder what goes through a person's mind when they realize their sister-in-law, the woman they shared Thanksgiving meals with, was essentially a professional assassin operating out of a suburban kitchen. And the kids, that's the part that sticks in your throat. They're 10, 8, and 6. They've lost their father to a medical accident, that's what she told them, and now they've lost their mother to a life sentence. How do you explain to a child that the book their mom wrote to help them cope with their dad's death was actually written by his murderer? Every word of comfort in those pages is now a poisoned needle. The defense says they're going to appeal. They're claiming the search warrants were overbroad, that the testimony from the handyman who sold her the pills was coerced, but the jury saw through it. They saw the Google searches. Can police see deleted WhatsApp messages? Lethal dose of fentanyl. How to get an autopsy canceled. You can't appeal your way out of your own search history. Don't look at me like that, Alina. Please, I need you to be on my side. You know what he was like. You saw the arguments. You saw how he was holding me back. I was building something. I was trying to secure the boy's future. He wanted to keep us small. He wanted to stay in that tiny house with his tiny ideas while I was closing multi-million-dollar deals. The media, they've made me a monster. They love the Black Widow narrative. It sells papers. It gets clicks, but they weren't there. They don't know that Eric was sick anyway. He was always complaining about his stomach, always taking things he shouldn't have been taking. I was trying to help him sleep. I was trying to calm him down. Do you think I'd really do it that way? If I were going to kill him, would I do it in our house, with the kids in the next room? I'm not stupid. I'm a businesswoman. I understand risk. That would be the highest risk possible. They say I bought the pills. I bought pills for myself. The stress of the business, the pressure of the debt. I was drowning, Alina. Eric didn't care about the debt. He just wanted to go hiking and pretend the bank wasn't calling every hour. I was the one keeping the roof over our heads. The book wasn't a lie. I felt those things. I was grieving. I was grieving the life I thought we were going to have. I was grieving the man I married before he became this person who just blocked every move I made. Is it a crime to want more for your family? They found the fentanyl in the drink, but who says I put it there? He had his own connections. He was depressed. The prosecution says I had a motive, but everyone has a motive if you look hard enough. Everyone has a life insurance policy. Everyone has arguments about money. You have to talk to the lawyer, tell him about the medication Eric was on back in college, find the doctors. There has to be a way out of this. I can't stay here. The walls, they're closing in. I can hear the doors locking every night, and it sounds like his voice. It sounds like him telling me I can't leave. Are the boys asking for me? Don't tell them I'm in here. Tell them I'm away at a retreat. Tell them I'm writing the sequel. Tell them I love them. Alina, don't walk away. Alina. We knew from day one something was off. You walk into a scene where a man has died of an apparent overdose and the spouse is already talking about the estate. Usually people are in shock, they're incoherent. Clara was, she was clinical. She was worried about the house she was supposed to close on the next morning. And then there was the cocktail. She made a big point of telling us she made him a special drink to celebrate a closing. A Moscow Mule. Why specify the drink? Because she wanted to frame the narrative. She wanted us to think they were happy. But when we got into the toxicology, the levies were insane. This wasn't a recreational dose. This wasn't someone partying. This was a chemical execution. We started looking into her phone. We found she'd been contacting a known associate, a guy we'd picked up on drug charges months earlier. He flipped in about 10 minutes. He told us she asked for the heavy stuff. She asked for something that wouldn't show up in a standard screen. She almost got away with it. If she hadn't written that book, if she hadn't stayed in the spotlight, we might have moved slower. But her ego was her downfall. She couldn't just be a killer. She had to be a celebrity. She had to be the grief expert. I've seen a lot of people kill for money. I've seen people kill for love, but I've never seen someone kill for a brand. That's what this was. Eric was a liability to the Clara Sterling brand, so she liquidated him. The life sentence, it's not enough for the family, but it's all the law can give. She'll spend the next 40, 50 years in a cell. No more book tour. No more champagne toasts, just the reality of what she did. She thought she was writing a story with a happy ending. She just didn't realize she was the villain.